Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another music video in our 52 Essential Albums Countdown. You all knew this album was coming at some point. Um, one of my favorite albums of all time, from one of my favorite bands of all time, we have Garbage's second album, version 2.0. Pretty close to a perfect album as well. I actually owned this, I think, three times. I have the CD, which the case is kind of in a stored away, but I have it on vinyl twice and then vinyl on vinyl twice. So here is the album. This is the original 1998 pressing of it. So we have our tracks here. We have Temptation Waits, which is a pretty good song. I think I'm Paranoid. That's one of their more well-known songs as well. When I Grow Up, Medication, Special, Hammering in My Head, Push It, The Trick is to Keep Breathing, Dumb, Sleep Together, Wicked Ways, and You Look So Fine. And the really great thing with this album is it came out in 1998, a few years after their debut album. Their debut album, also very good. And this kind of even, I think, eclipses that album. Their first album, pretty good, got a lot of solid tracks on there. This album comes away around, and I think kind of even blows that one away. I don't think they've ever been able to kind of get back to this level of music. Their third album was decent. Fourth album, not that great. Thought Not Your Kind of People was good, wasn't amazing. Strange Little Birds was pretty good, and then they've kind of come back around with No Gods, No Masters. That one's actually pretty good as well. But version 2.0, essentially a perfect album. Some notable tracks on it are Special in the little list here. Whenever I hear Special, I kind of just get like flashbacks to 1998, like walking down like a sunny street with my CD Walkman on and like some really big over-the-ear headphones, just listening to that album. Push It. I think Shirley Manson's even described that as being one of her favorite songs. I think, or like at least an essential song. I think I'm Paranoid. Also really good. And my favorite song from them is You Look So Fine, which I've only seen them play live twice. I've seen them a total of 7 times. And the first time I saw them play that song live was during the 20th anniversary of this album, so 2018. They did a somewhat small tour. I had to travel to Albuquerque to actually see them play because they didn't play locally. But, flew down there, spent a day there, and then went to the show. They played this, and then they also played this song at the last concert I went to where they were touring with Tears for Fears. And they usually do it as a, like, that song, and then they kind of go into Dreams by Fleetwood Mac, like a small cover of that. But version 2.0 is just an amazing album. I remember watching a like mini documentary on the production of the album, and I believe they were Steve, Butch, and Duke were spending so much time like editing and mixing the album and just messing around that I think um, Shirley Manson at some point had to say, "Hey, I need to go home." Home being Scotland at this time. Um, this album needs to be released before I leave. So she kind of basically forced them to just release the album in whatever state it was at the time. And I think the kind of joke was that if they were able to release the album when they were done just messing around, they would never have released the album. It was kind of like a running joke, I think, at one point. But amazing album. It's going to go through. So this is the 2000 or yeah, the 1998 pressing. I actually picked this up in 2012 before it got reissued. I think this is one of the most expensive albums I ever purchased. This was like $70. Um, that it was $70. That would include shipping because it ended up actually being shipped from Japan at the time. And then in 2018, they did the 20th anniversary pressing of it, making it a little bit more easy to obtain. Um, I was just going to get the normal edition of it because the deluxe album was like $120. I had eventually did get it. I got it on it was on sale on eBay for like 60, so totally worth it. But the deluxe version includes like just a bunch of extras and some really cool stuff. It includes an album through full of the B sides as well. Some of these B sides they actually played at that during that 20th anniversary tour, which was just an awesome tour here. So let's go back to the track list. Temptation Waits. It's one thing I really like about this album is it doesn't sound that similar to the first album. There's some elements that you can hear like throughout all their albums, but it seems like their style like evolves like album to album, or it's a different style entirely. This one it features a lot more like electronic kind of music on it, and then they kind of scale stuff back for the third album, and they've done different stuff with each album. But Temptation Waits is pretty good. I think I'm Paranoid. We're going to go through this list. Um, really solid. The music video for that's really cool. When I Grow Up is a song that they haven't really started playing again live until somewhat recently. I remember they played it during the 2018 tour because it was touring this entire album essentially, and then I think it was they then like I had seen them up to that point. I think the 2018 show, so it's on the 2012, 2016, something. That's my fourth time seeing them, and the only two times up to that point that I had heard that song were that 2018 concert, and then the year later in 2019 they eventually played it again. Medication's like a slower, like a very slow version, like very very. It's not acoustic, but the acoustic version is awesome. Um, Special, I love Special. Hammering in My Head. Little fun fact: there was a live version of Hammering in My Head that I used to listen to on my walk to work like almost every day for like a year. And it's I think from the Princess Street Gardens show. It's like it was a 1999 concert in Scotland, and it's one of my favorite live versions of that song. Push It, they basically play it every show. It's kind of a like a lot of the stuff on this album does get played quite often because of just how popular the album was. It's definitely I think like their peak at with this album. I've loved their other albums, but nothing really compares to version 2.0. Um, Dumb is also really good. Sleep Together is pretty good. Wicked Ways, and then again, my favorite track is they usually had at least on the first two albums had like a kind of like a more ballady like song at the end. The first one was Milk off the first album, then You Look So Fine off of this album, and You Look So Fine is probably my favorite Garbage track of all time. But you kind of say if you're only going to get listen to one Garbage album, this is the one to listen to. I don't think anything has ever kind of really come close to it. Um, I think No Gods No Masters. Like I'm just gonna kind of like rate the albums. Like the first one's really good. Just self-titled 1995, great album. This album comes out essentially it's perfect. The Beautiful Garbage is a pretty good album, but it's definitely not as good as this one. Bleed Like Me like had a couple songs I liked, but I overall it's not an amazing album. It's not even on vinyl yet. I'm hoping they reissue that in a couple years when they do the 20th anniversary of that. If they do, I mean, like it's the only album of theirs I don't have on vinyl, and it's because it was for some reason never pressed on vinyl for whatever reason. After that, they take their break for about 7 years. Then they come back with Not Your Kind of People. I thought it was pretty good. There's some solid songs on there. Strange Little Birds was all right. Some decent stuff on there. And then No Gods No Masters, I think, is probably their best album. I think at least since their third album, maybe since this one. I'm not really sure, but like at least since Beautiful Garbage, if not this one here. But so again, this is our 52 album series. This week we covered Garbage's sophomore album version 2.0. Don't know what we're going to cover next week, but that's going to do it for this video. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Thanks again for watching. Take care and have a good one.